प्रविष्टं विष्णुपाद अश्वतरशत शिष्यमार भक्तिवेदांत नारायण गोस्वामी महाराज श्री गुरुदेव की जय। नित्य लीला प्रविष्टं विष्णुपाद अश्वतरशत शिष्यमार भक्ति वेदांत वामन गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नित्य लीला प्रविष्टं विष्णुपाद अश्वतरशत शिष्यमार भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। नित्य लीला प्रविष्टं विष्णुपाद अश्वतरशत शिष्यमार भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोसाई महाराज की जय। नित्य लीला प्रविष्टं विष्णुपाद अश्वतरशत शिष्यमार भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई प्रभुपाद की जय। नित्य लीला प्रविष्ट महाभगवत श्री गोरक्षर बाबाजी महाराज की जय। नित्य लीला प्रविष्ट श्री सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय। नित्य लीला प्रविष्ट वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास बाबाजी महाराज की जय। श्री रूपनो गौरिया गुरु वर्ग की जय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ शार गोसाई प्रभु की जय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंदारी श्री गौर पार्षद वृंद की जय। नाम श्रीला हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौरमंडल ब्रजमंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय। सर्व अभिष्ट विदात्री गिरिराज महाराज की जय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जय। श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री पूर्णमासी योग माया की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। जय नित्य लीला प्रविष्टं विष्णुपाद अश्वतरशत शिष्यमार भक्ति विज्ञान भारती गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। तदीय शुभ तिरुभाग तिथि की जय। नाम श्रीला हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। तदीय शुभ तिरुभाग तिथि की जय। श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय राधिकाय प्रियात्मने श्रीश्रीमद्भक्तिवेदान्त नारायणेति नामिने। नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। पञ्चकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरतिशे नमः। पूर्वे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकायै तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तरभक्ताय नमो नमः। यं प्रव्रजन्तमनुपेतमपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरहकातर आजुहाव पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवोऽभिनेदुस्तं सर्वभूतहृदयं मुनिमानतोऽस्मि। नारायणमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्णा पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तना हृदन्तस्थो ह्यभद्राणि विधुनोति सुहृत्सतं। नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। तवैवास्मि न जीवामि त्वया विना इति विज्ञाय राधे त्वां नायमां चरणान्तिकम्। भक्त्या विहीना अपराधलक्षाय क्षिप्ताष्टकामादितरङ्गमध्ये कृपामयि त्वां Sharanam Prapana Vrinde Namaste Charanardavindam Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Dandavat pranams everybody. Raseshwari Mataji, Ganga Didi, Bhavatarani Mataji, Indira Mataji, Gargrajji, and I don't know what your name is, but Aestheticscape, Aestheticscape, um, and Madhavi Didi. Dandavat pranams. Haribol, everybody. One second. So I wanted to just read one verse from Srimad Bhagavatam to keep our Srimad Bhagavatam going. And then after, I wanted to just read, there's so many different articles here in this Remembrance and Separation series on vishuddhachaitanyavani.com, but I wanted to just read a few of them. But first, let's read Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay. So yes, the 2 previous days we read the commentaries on this verse, first verse. Sri Shukadeva Goswami said, when Bhagavan Sri Krishna saw the unparalleled splendor of the autumn night beautified by blossoming jasmine flowers, he was inspired to perform the love play of Ras Leela to fulfill the desire of his beloved gopis. Thus, although he is complete in 6 opulences, he took shelter of his internal potency, Yoga Maya. And in square brackets it says, when Sri Krishna stole the gopis' clothes, he informed them about those future nights, which all came together as this exquisite divine night. So now, reading verse 2. Tado duraja kakuba karar mukham prachya vilimpan arune shantamai sacharshaninam udagach chucho mrijan priya priyaya iva dirga darshanam. When a husband returns home after a long absence from a foreign land, he applies kumkum on his beloved wife's face with his comforting hands. In the same way, when the moon, the consort of the stars, rose in the sky, he colored the face of his beloved, the eastern horizon, with his soothing red radiance that bestows happiness. At the same time, the moon also removed the agony of the living entities who were scorched by the rays of the autumn sun. Now Śrīla Śrīdhara Svāmī Pad's Bhavarta Dipika. When Bhagavan Sri Krishna showed the desire for amorous activity, the autumn moon, the king of all the stars, rose in his fullness for the Lord's pleasure. What did he do? When a man comes home after a long absence, he'll take red kumkum and spread it on his wife's face. In the same way, the full moon smeared the face of his beautiful beloved, the eastern horizon, with kumkum in the form of his red rays, which gave supreme happiness. Thereby, the moon removed the distress of the living entities who were burning in the heat of the sun. Sa means he. The famous full moon rose. Now, Srila Jīva Goswami Pad's Vaishnav Toshani commentary. The moon approached his consort, the eastern horizon, for amorous pleasure in the same way a lover desiring dalliance presents himself to his sweetheart. When Sri Krishna saw the full moon rising, the same mood arose in him. In other words, Krishna thought, just as I am disposed to meet with the Vraj Devis, the moon is ready for romance with the eastern horizon. In this way, Sri Shukadeva Goswami first expressed the moods that arose in Bhagavan's heart. And then in this verse, starting with Tada, he describes the events that what's this word? That augured auspiciousness on that Purnima, that full moon night, which was the best among all those nights. And augur means portend a good or bad outcome. Okay. So foresee or predict. So it's like to predict a good or bad outcome. Huh. New word for me. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but anyway. So in this verse, starting with Tada, he described the events that augured auspiciousness in that Purnima, that full moon night, which is the best among all those nights. At that time, Tada, when Bhagavan displayed the desire for Amar, the moon, which is the husband of the stars, Uduraja, simultaneously rose along with his family, all the stars. This is what this verse suggests. The reddish hue, the Arunena, spread by the moon rays, the Rashmibi, were the perfect means to inspire Sri Krishna for dalliance. As the moon rose, he painted the face of his beloved, the eastern horizon, with his soft reddish rays. Observing the moon's activity, Bhagavan thought that it was a sign for him to meet the fervently impassioned gopis. Visheshena limpan means smearing with a special mood. This expression has been used because it was a special tithi. It was Purnima, the full moon night. Tada means when Bhagavan desired. All other billions of nights remained as full moon nights because of Bhagavan's intrinsic rasic nature as the master of loving exchanges. Utpula Malika, seeing the nights decorated with blossoming jasmine. Just as the full moon is a stimulant, so are the nights. The rising of the full moon is very favorable. In this same narration, Bhagavan himself will say later on, Rakesha Kararanjitam, resplendent with the light of the full moon. That's Srimad Bhagavatam 10:29-21. This verse also refers to the full moon night. In the first verse, we find the phrase Ta Ratrihi, meaning all those nights. Ta means those, indicating that those nights are the udipana, or stimulant. Similarly, sa, he, in this verse, refers to the moon, who is also an udipana. This is the meaning. That moon not only removed the sorrow of his beloved, the eastern horizon, it also gave relief to everyone in the world suffering mentally due to the heat of the autumn sun. The purport is that the Vrajadevis, being under the shelter of all of Bhagavan's potencies, are the embodiment of supreme power. Therefore, the happiness or unhappiness that they undergo automatically reflects in all the living entities of the world. Krishna's birth and other pastimes are the evidence of this. Indeed, the day Krishna was born, all living entities became joyful. Similarly, this night also removed the sufferings of all creatures. This is the conclusion. The way the lover desiring to dally goes to his beloved. This example applies to the special attraction between the moon and the eastern horizon, exhibited by their great passion, their loyalty, and their one-pointedness towards each other. When the beloved head of the family returns home after a long absence, he wipes away his family members' tears of sorrow. Similarly, when the moon smeared the face of his mistress, the eastern horizon, with the red color of his passion, the moon smeared his face with the eastern horizon with the red color of his passion. This suggests that Sri Krishna, with his supremely blissful lotus hands, he lovingly spread red kumkum on the lotus faces of his beloveds. Dirga Darshana, meeting after a long time. This indicates extreme eagerness. In this way, when Sri Bhagavan has a desire for romance, to comply with his intention, the environment manifests favorable arrangements, such as the rising of the moon in the eastern direction. This is the external indication of his longing for amorous affairs. Now we're reading Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Thakur's Sarartha Darshini. Let me just check the comments. Okay. The husband of the stars, the full moon, rose when Bhagavan showed the desire for romance. It is not that Bhagavan found his inspiration from seeing the rising of the full moon. Rather, the moon's ascent served to increase Krishna's desire for amor, and also authorized him to roam about with the gopis. He is authorized by the moon. This is confirmed by the phrase Kakuba Karar Mukam, coloring the face of his beloved, the eastern horizon, with his hands, his red rays. That is, when the lover returns after a long separation, he takes red kumkum and spreads it on his beloved's face. Similarly, when the Lord of the stars, the moon, rises after a long time, he takes his rays in his soft hand, and with rising passion, he smears the face of his beloved, the eastern direction. Sa, he, the famous full moon. Charshani nam, humankind. This word is also used in Srimad Bhagavatam 6.642. Aryamno matrika patni tayosh charshanaya sutaha. Matrika, the wife of Aryama, gave birth to many sons, the progenitors of the human race. In the present verse, Charshaninam is used in conjunction with the moon, which removes the agony, sucho mrijan, of the human race suffering from the heat of the sun. The essence of this verse is as follows. The rising moon instructed Krishna, "Hey Krishna, you have come in my dynasty. I am its founder, and I am eminent among the Brahmins. Furthermore, I am ancient and am the husband of many beautiful damsels." That is, although the moon had many wives of his own, the stars, with his own hands he touched the eastern direction, the wife of Indra, and anointed her face with red dye. What is more, he became immensely fond of her and aroused in her a passion for him. Therefore, it is as if the moon was saying, "You have appeared in my dynasty. As a fresh, unmarried youth, you are completely faultless and totally beautiful. Because of all this, you make the human race intoxicated with joy. For such a cowherd boy as yourself, what is wrong in dallying with the beautiful gopis? Therefore, go and freely enjoy amorous intrigues. You will not be touched by even a scent of immorality." All right, so we'll continue with verse 3 tomorrow. That's all our Bhagavatam for today. And now we move on to reading the glories of Srila Bhakti Vijñāna Bhāratī Gosvāmī Mahārāja, whose auspicious disappearance day it is today. So let's just see this article. The articles are his childhood and receiving Brahminical samskars, his Upanayan samskar at the age 8, his acceptance of Harinam and Diksha, severing the hard knots in my heart, service in unfavorable circumstances, the colossal vow of Tridandi Sannyas, virtue above inconvenience, serving as secretary without hesitation or fear. The gravity of the post of Acharya. Let's read this one first. Virtue above inconvenience. Just checking the comments. Hare Krishna, Nutan Berry. Okay. So, okay. And I think these were all written by Siddhanti Maharaj and Madhav Prabhu, if I'm correct. One remarkable characteristic of Śrīla Mahārāja's was whenever he accepted responsibility for or commenced any service, he became so absorbed in it that all else would fade into oblivion. Having once imbibed something as truth or given his word to someone, he would never retract, no matter how much inconvenience was required to honor his promise. Even in the seemingly most inconsequential incidents, one would be astonished to hear his astutely subtle and deep viewpoint, which is always pursuant to scriptural doctrine. We will present two such anecdotes as recounted by Śrīla Mahārāja depicting these special qualities in him. First incident. Once while residing at Sri Mayapur, I, along with many other devotees, contracted chickenpox and was incapacitated to render any service. However, when I remembered Tat Kripa Avalokana, seeing Bhagavan's mercy in every situation, which is one of the 64 limbs of devotional service, I saw my present situation also as auspicious. I considered, generally, being engaged in some service or the other, there is no opportunity to study scriptures. But now I can study the scriptures for as long as I like. Therefore, I began reading Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. As I read on, I became so engrossed and blissful that I could not feel like putting the book down for even a moment. At that time, Shripad Krishna Keshav Brahmachari, a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, told other brahmacharis, "Please keep an eye on him, lest he become insane by incessantly reading the scripture." Anyhow, I actually did not experience the agony of chickenpox at all, because most of my time was spent reading Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Upon hearing that devotees were suffering from chickenpox, Guru Maharaj wrote a letter to the temple president of Sri Tanya Gaudiya Math, Sri Dham Mayapur, Sri Bhakti Prasad Ashram Maharaj, informing him to provide a special diet such as halava and puri, etc., to those who are suffering. Although Sri Ashram Maharaj related to us the contents of Guru Maharaj's letter and his instructions about the special prescribed diet, he is unable to provide that diet for us, whatever the reason may have been. At that time, some brahmacharis began to urge me, "You always have an active correspondence with Guru Maharaj through letters. So you should certainly keep Guru Maharaj abreast of the fact that we are not being provided the diet he prescribed about the overall situation." Sorry, we're not being prescribed the diet he prescribed and about the overall situation. I replied, "If for some reason Sri Ashram Maharaj is unable to follow the order of Guru Maharaj, then that should be a matter of his concern, not ours. Why should we become despondent over this? Secondly, I cannot demand anything from Guru Maharaj because when I had expressed my desire to permanently reside at the Math, I had not entered into any agreement stating that I will serve, but all of you should take care of me in special circumstances. Therefore, it is only appropriate to spend this time howsoever we can while depending on Guru, Vaishnavas, and Bhagavan." Then two of the brahmacharis spoke. "We have intimated our family members by letter. They will definitely make some arrangement or other. If you wish, you can also write to those from your Purva Ashram, your life before joining the Math, to request something." I replied, "If I write to my ex-relatives, I know that they will certainly make some arrangement, but even still, I will not do so, despite the fact that they have fulfilled my various necessities for many years. I will not do so because despite the fact they have fulfilled my various necessities for many years, I have not done anything for them in exchange. By becoming a brahmachari, I indirectly declared my lack of support to them, and now, upon experiencing a little inconvenience, is it befitting that I ask them for help? Sheerly out of shame, I will never be able to do such a thing. After a couple of days, one brahmachari approached me. My father has sent me some money to me. I will get something for everyone out of that money, he suggested. Hearing him, I exclaimed, Don't you dare get me anything using that money. I will not accept anything, so do not bring anything to me. Petrified, the brahmachari left. Anyhow, after a couple of days, two of my godbrothers, Shri Nitai Datta and Shri Keshav Mukherjee, came to Sri Dham Mayapur for a few days. Seeing the devotees afflicted with chickenpox, they were inspired to arrange prasadam for all of us as per the prescribed diet. Then onwards, this belief became firmly rooted in my heart. If we are desirous to advance on the path of truth, then by the inspiration of Bhagavan, even unknown and unlikely personalities will come forward and provide exactly whatever is necessary. So that was the first incident. Second incident. One time I was in Hyderabad with the preaching party of Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Math. On the day that we were to return to Kolkata, while I was dressing after my morning bath, my foot suddenly slipped, and I fell in such a way that my left hand hit the bed with such force that I endured 2 internal injuries, which were excruciatingly painful. I requested one devotee to inform the devotees bound for Kolkata that I would not be able to accompany them, and, if possible, they should cancel my ticket, as I would need to be taken to a hospital. That devotee did not heed my words. At any rate, eventually I was taken to the hospital. I felt I had fractured my hands. Thus, I suggested they request the physician to attend to me first. The physician, however, dismissed the request, saying, if it was indeed a fracture, then he would have created a great commotion, screaming at the top of his lungs due to the pain. So please wait your turn patiently. I will attend to him shortly. Later, the physician first took an x-ray and saw that my hand was fractured in 2 places. Thereafter, while applying a plaster-like bandage, the physician inquired, Mahārāja, even in the case of one fracture, people become restless, screaming in pain. How did you manage to remain unperturbed despite 2 fractures? I replied, Would screaming relieve my pain? Till date, I haven't heard that there is any relief. I haven't heard that there is any relief through screaming. Happiness and distress appear in accordance to one's destiny. Therefore, I consider it my duty to follow, to the best of my ability, the words of Bhagavad Gita. Dukesh vanudvigna mana. One should not become disturbed upon the appearance of distress. Serving as secretary without hesitation or fear, the gravity of the post of Acharya, the translation of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita and Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, reputation for deep understanding of Siddhanta, manifesting Acharya Lila. I never left the mat. What about his reputation for deep understanding of the Siddhanta? Let's read this one. Just checking the comments. Okay. Preaching service free from indolence and an ideal personified for the contemporary Saraswat Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Mostly, Srila Mahārāja remained exceedingly busy engaged in preaching either with Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Math's preaching party or independently with a few devotees across many locations, namely Puri, Mayapur, Vrindavan, Kolkata, Chandigarh, Delhi, Faridabad, Bengaluru, Mumbai, Pune, Jalandhar, Manasa, Jammu, Jaipur, etc. He did not let his old age obstruct his preaching, and always remained blissfully and enthusiastically engrossed in this service. Even young sannyasis and brahmacharis would be amazed upon observing his tight travel schedule and daily routine. Śrīla Mahārāja's transcendental qualities were showcased by his sharp memory, intimate dealings with everyone, and equanimity. It was not that Śrīla Mahārāja was only honored by Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Math's devotees. His stellar reputation spread across almost all of the Gaudiya Maths, as well as many senior sannyasis of ISKCON. Sri Jayapataka Maharaj would often address Śrīla Mahārāja as a Shiksha Guru. Observing Śrīla Mahārāja's Vaishnav dealings, expertise in service, lucidity in Siddhanta, sweet and straightforward childlike demeanor, and his ability to execute and uphold Vaishnav etiquette, mostly all the senior Vaishnavas across various Gaudiya Maths would repeatedly offer obeisances to Śrīla Mahārāja's Viśvanātha, his quality of being a Vaishnav. Even Mahabhagavats like Shishimad Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj and Shishimad Bhakti Vallabha Goswami Maharaj would sometimes solicit Śrīla Mahārāja's inputs on Siddhanta, and on many occasions they would encourage their disciples to approach Śrīla Mahārāja to obtain a deep perspective and hone their own understanding of Siddhanta. Sometimes Śrīla Mahārāja's deeds would exemplify his profound solemnity, his soberness, which was simultaneously more elevated than the peaks of the Himalayas and deeper than the ocean. Sometimes, in casual, jovial interactions with Śrīla Mahārāja, even outright newcomers would feel as if they were interacting with a friend, father, or grandfather. Most of Śrīla Mahārāja's godbrothers would hear his Harikatha with utmost respect, accepting every word as bona fide. What to speak of others, the former Acharya of Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Math, Sri Srimad Bhakti Vallabha Tirtha Goswami Maharaj, would become jubilant upon hearing his Harikatha and encourage other devotees to also hear from Śrīla Mahārāja. Sri Srimad Bhakti Vallabha Tirtha Goswami Maharaj always evinced deep respect, regard, and extreme affection for Śrīla Mahārāja. For this reason, most of the disciples of Sri Srimad Bhakti Vallabha Tirtha Goswami Maharaj would associate with Śrīla Mahārāja and serve him, considering him to be non-different to their guru. Receiving his affection, they would consider themselves blessed and earnestly hear Śrīla Mahārāja's Harikatha. Let's see what this manifesting Acharya Lila. Oh, and just by the way, all these articles were published in our Gurudev's Bhagavat Patrika. Yeah. So that's why when it says Srila Gurudev, it's referring to our Nityalila Pravishta Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. After the disappearance of Srila Gurudev in 2010 and manifestation of a confidential, or in other words, esoteric sickness pastime by Sri Srimad Bhakti Vallabha Tirtha Goswami Maharaj in 2013, many devotees around the world started hankering to take shelter of a highly advanced Mahabhagavat like them. Many devotees repeatedly requested Śrīla Mahārāja to give shelter. Although Śrīla Mahārāja initially dissuaded such proposals, in the course of time, seeing the rising Upasiddhanta in the society of Gaudiya Saraswat Vaishnavas, Śrīla Mahārāja began awarding Harinam in 2015. Prior to awarding Harinam Diksha to anyone, Śrīla Mahārāja expressed his contemplations. As I was considering the subject within my conscience for many months, many thoughts gradually manifested in my heart. The principal ones that I remember among them are as follows. First one is, Srila Madhavendra Puri had taken a vow to desist from approaching anyone for the sake of his sustenance, and only to accept milk, even if things are obtained of their own accord by ajachak vritti. That means accepting anything without begging. However, um, however, for the sake of the service and pleasure of Bhagavan, he broke his vow and accepted Amrita Keli Kheer. In this way, for the sake of my Gurudev's service and to protect the sanctity of his words, that Pujapad Shishimar Bhakti Ballabhatirtha Goswami Maharaj would remain the sole Acharya of Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Math, I had taken a solemn vow to never award Diksha. However, due to the present circumstances, I will have to forsake my vow solely for the service of my Gurudev and Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Math. 2. Srila Prabhupada accepted the implicit meaning of the words of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, namely, do not establish Mat Mandir, and those So Srila Prabhupada accepted the implicit meanings of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's words, do not establish Mat Mandir, and those of Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj, namely, never go to Kolkata and never award Diksha to anyone. Srila Prabhupada did not limit himself to the external meaning of these words. In the same way, I am also feeling compelled to act like Srila Prabhupada by grasping the implicit meaning of the words of my Guru Maharaj. 3. My Guru Maharaj, Shishimar Bhakti Dait Madhav Goswami Maharaj, Shishimar Bhakti Rakshak Śrīdhara Goswami Maharaj, Shishimar Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj, and the many disciples of Srila Prabhupada who are our Guru Varga, also began awarding Harinam and Diksha solely as a service to Srila Prabhupada, although not having received the direct order from him to assume the position of Guru. In the same way, for the sole purpose of my Guru Maharaja's service, I have also become compelled to follow in the footsteps of the above-mentioned ideal manifested by my Guru Varga in the present scenario. And this is the last one. In this ripe old age, I am not in any kind of frenzy or desperation to accumulate disciples, like a woman suffering the pains of her labor. Like a woman suffering the pains of labor is desperate to deliver her child as soon as possible. Although I feel that I am completely unqualified to carry out this duty, and realizing that by doing so, I may have to tread the path to hell, for the sole purpose of Guru Maharaja's service, for the dignity of the Mat, the institution established by him, to protect the esteem of the Sampradaya, the disciplic succession, and to serve all the devotees who have beseeched me time and again to initiate. I have taken upon myself this arduous yet essential task of awarding Harinam and Diksha, and I will continue to do so in the days to come as well. I never left the mat, the fruit of my previous karma. The mantras received from Shiksha Gurus. Let's read this one. Well, let's see how long it is actually. Okay, yeah, let's read this one. One second, just drinking some water. The mantras received from Shiksha Gurus. During his stay at the Mat, Srila Maharaj not only had the topmost opportunity of getting personal association and rendering service to his Gurudev, but alongside that, he also receives the greatest fortune of rendering intimate service to the many stalwart disciples of Srila Prabhupada. As a result of such service, he received their spontaneous affection and profuse blessings to realize the deep truths of Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta. In this process, he gradually also received priceless Shiksha mantras, which naturally fortified the Diksha mantras from his Gurudev's godbrothers. In other words, from his Shiksha gurus, Shishimad Bhakti Rakshak Shridhar Goswami Maharaj, Shishimad Bhakti Vichar Yajavar Goswami Maharaj, Shishimad Bhakti Saranga Goswami Maharaj, Shishimad Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, Shishimad Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj, and Shishimad Bhakti Kumud Santa Goswami Maharaj. Receiving those Shiksha mantras with great prudence, how do you say this word? Assiduity? I don't know. Let me just look up this word, assiduity. Assiduity means constant or close attention to what one is doing. Okay. So receiving these mantras with great prudence, assiduity, and gravity, Śrīla Maharaj followed them impeccably throughout his life, thereby proving his caliber of being a remarkably qualified disciple. His Diksha as well as Shiksha gurus would become overcome with delight and deep spiritual sentiments time and again, seeing him always engaged with ardent commitment in services, such as acquisition of lands for the mats, construction of mats, preaching, serving the cows, monthly fundraising, organizing Sri Vrajmandal and Sri Gauramandal, Sri Kshetra Mandal Dham Parikramas, as well as pilgrimages to South India, North India, and so on, organizing and managing various festivals, rendering personal service to the Vaishnavas. In other words, taking advantage of whichever service opportunity presented itself. As a result, Srila Guru Maharaj's Guru Pad Parma, Shishimad Bhakti Dait Madhav Goswami Maharaj, awarded him with the title Upadeshak, mentor, and later with the title Seva Vigraha, embodiment of service, through the medium of Shri Chaitanya Vani Pracharini Sabha. Shishimad Bhakti Vichar Jajavar Goswami Maharaj conferred upon him the title Nirmatsarar Vaishnav, non-envious devotee, while Shri Madan Mohan Setha, another disciple of Srila Prabhupada, ornamented him with the title Mukta Purush, a liberated personality. Here's the Shri Gaur Ashirvad Patra. See, this says, Shri Chaitanya Vani Pracharini Sabha Pradattam. Brahmachari Shuchi. Anyways, I'm not going to read the whole Sanskrit. It says, the translation of those verses are, pure and expert in all undertakings, Sri Nartham Brahmachari is knowledgeable in the subject of medicine, devoid of laziness and forbearing. He is always endeavoring to fulfill any service related responsibility. And besides being experts in many other services, he is also skilled at various services related to the construction of Sri Mandir. Sri Nartham Brahmachari, who is possessed with such exalted qualities, was previously awarded the title Upadeshak, mentor, by the Committee of Saints. And now he is being ornamented with the title Seva Vigraha, the embodiment of service. He is being awarded this title in Sri Gaur Dham on the auspicious appearance Tithi of Sri Gaur, Falgun Purnima, March 7th, 1966. Besides the aforementioned Mahabhagavat disciples of Srila Prabhupada, Srila Maharaj also received various extraordinary mantras from other exalted disciples of Srila Prabhupada, such as Shishimad Bhakti Sarvasva Giri Goswami Maharaj, Shishimad Bhakti Prakash Aranya Goswami Maharaj, Shishimad Bhakti Hriday Ban Goswami Maharaj, Shishimad Bhakti Gaurai Kanas Maharaj, Shishimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Krishna Das Babaji Maharaj, Shishimad Bhakti Kamal Madhusudan Goswami Maharaj, Shishimad Bhakti Saurabh Bhakti Sar Goswami Maharaj, Shishimad Bhakti Shri Rup Siddhanti Goswami Maharaj, Shishimad Bhakti Alok Paramahansa Goswami Maharaj, Shishimad Bhakti Mayuk Bhagavat Goswami Maharaj, Shishimad Bhakti Jivan Janardhan Goswami Maharaj, Shri Krishna Keshav Brahmachari, Shri Jagamohan Brahmachari, Shri Udharan Brahmachari, and so on. For the fear of this essay becoming exceedingly voluminous, At this juncture, we are refraining from expounding the subject in detail, despite our desire to do so. By the virtue of a supremely pure personal precept, Śrīla Mahārāja is awarding the teaching that those who desire to progress in their spiritual lives must consider service unto and glorification of the illustrious Vaishnavas as their principal wealth, even above rendering service unto Bhagavan Sri Krishna and chanting his glories. They should regard service rendered unto the Vaishnavas as non-different from service rendered unto Sri Guru. And so then it goes through the different mantras received by Sri Srimad Bhakti Kumud Santa Goswami Maharaj, and Sri Srimad Bhakti Brighan Kesha Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Shrita Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Marad Puri Goswami Maharaj, Bhakti Vichara Jajavar Goswami Maharaj, and like that. So, what time is it? It's 8:21. Oh man, I want to read these mantras. I read them before here. Let's just look at this. Let's just look at the end. He said, in this way, I received from Srila Keshav Goswami Maharaj the following mantras. Never compromise when it comes to principles. Lead your life with the sole aim of protecting principles. And we are not here to deal in real estate business, but to serve the Vaishnavas. I can't read the introduction because it'll take too long. Then let's see the mantras received from Sri Srimad Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj. I'm just going to skip to the end part of this. So he receives his mantra, by accepting anything offered by an offender, one has to share the result of his offense. Since then, I have followed this principle throughout my life. It's really important to read these to understand the context. Anyhow, no, I want to get to reading other things because we're almost out of time. So let's read Srila Bhakti Vijñāna Bhāratī Goswami Maharaj's last Harikatha. That's really essential, I think. Where is it? And we can read about his Samadhi ceremony. So the last Harikatha. For the occasion of Śrīla Mahārāja's Avirbhav Tithi, Shayan Akadashi 2017, a 2-day festival was organized in Sri Gopinath Gaudiya Math. Almost 700 devotees attended the festival on both days. One day prior to his Avirbhav Tithi, Śrīla Mahārāja visited Sri Gopinath Gaudiya Math and remained there for 3 days. Despite his extreme weakness and ill health, Śrīla Mahārāja's Avirbhav Tithi was celebrated with great jubilance, with many senior Vaishnavas offering Pushpanjali for 2 days, and everyone receiving the opportunity to worship him on this day of his Vyas Puja. Following his Vyas Puja, Śrīla Mahārāja traveled from Bhubaneswar to Delhi, arriving at Sri Radha Madhav Gaudiya Math in Faridabad, where he began residing. Nandotsav. Before Śrīla Mahārāja manifested his sickness pastime, he spoke Harikatha on the day of Nandotsav, as well as during the weekly Sunday program at the Faridabad Math. On the day of Nandotsav, Śrīla Mahārāja said, I cannot speak much. Now everything is beyond my control. However, not speaking on the important tithis constitutes an offense. Hence, I will speak a bit. The festival that is celebrated commemorating Krishna's birth is known as Nandotsav. There is no mention anywhere about the Utsav or festival of Vasudev. This Nandotsav is famous for all the Vrajvasis attending this festival without any invitation. On this day, Sri Nanda Maharaj opened his treasure chest and freely gave gifts and charity to all the arriving Brajavasis. This day is famous for dancing and singing. Replete with bliss, devotees participate in dancing and singing. This is called lasya. Among the women of Braj, Yashoda Mata is the most plump. Even still, she danced in bliss. This is why all the devotees perform Ananda Gita, blissful singing, today. However, what to speak of participating in dancing? I don't even possess the ability to stand. The essence of his last Harikatha. On Sunday, August 20th, 2017, Srila Maharaj spoke in his last formal Harikatha. During Srila Prabhupada's time, one day in Kolkata, a disaster presented itself. A great thunderstorm arrived, because of which many could not come to hear Harikatha. Even for those who came, it became impossible to return home. Observing this, some devotees said to our Param Gurudev, Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Ṭhākura Prabhupada, "Today is a very inauspicious day." Srila Prabhupada replied, "The day when there is no Harikatha is the most inauspicious day. The arrival of a thunderstorm does not make the day most inauspicious. A day spent without Harikatha is most inauspicious. Therefore, do not lead your life without Harikatha. You are all very fortunate that despite such a thunderstorm, you could be present for Harikatha." Khichdi was prepared and offered as prasad to all those present in the mat. All the devotees rested in the hall. All the devotees rested in the hall of the mat for the night. And then he said, Srila Bhaktivedanta Bhāratī Goswami Maharaj's second point is, "It is my misfortune that I have not been able to speak Harikatha daily. It is inappropriate to pass life without Harikatha. Those who are fortunate will daily perform kirtan and Harikatha." Next point. What is the true meaning of Harikatha? Only playing mridanga and performing kirtan does not constitute Harikatha. That katha which is meant only for the pleasure of Hari is called Harikatha. If katha is spoken for our own benefit, then such katha is not Harikatha. Next point. It is observed that Arjuna killed many soldiers fighting in the war. However, this was done as service to Bhagavan. On the other hand, Yudhishthira was extremely devoted to religion. In his entire life, he never engaged in any useless talk. Even still, Yudhishthira's adherence to religion is not so laudable as he lacked real surrender towards Krishna. He did not possess absolute faith in the words of Bhagavan. Leaving the service of Bhagavan for the sake of truthfulness, such thinking is impure. Next point. Bhagavan is absolute truth, or true substance. Hence, whatever is done for the sole purpose of serving Bhagavan constitutes Hari Bhakti. Let's see with this final sickness pastime. This is too long to read. I'm going to skip this one, but I want to read it sometime later on. Preparing for his disappearance pastime. Okay, let's read this. Preparing for his disappearance pastime and deciding his time of departure like Bhishma Pitamaha. September 3rd, 2017 was Shravan Mahadwadashi, the appearance day of Bhagavan Vaman and Śrīla Jīva Gosvāmī, the topmost among the Shada Goswamis. When Śrīla Mahārāja was informed about the Tithi of Mahadwadashi, he said very enthusiastically, "So today is Shravana Mahadwadashi. Very good, very good." That morning, in his last conversation, Śrīla Mahārāja said the following to one of his servants. "It is my request that you prevent the devotees from feeding me any food, prasad, because I am experiencing inconvenience with this. And yes, if possible, take me to the mat after consulting with a doctor, and if they deny, tell them that we do not have funds to pay the hospital bill and we want to go to a specialist hospital." Seeing that the servants did not react, Śrīla Mahārāja asked, "Do you feel that I am telling you a lie? According to these words, Prema Dana Vina Vyartha Daridra Jivan, we are Daridra, we are poor. And Srila Prabhupada used to refer to the mat itself as a hospital. So by going to the mat, we'll be going to the specialist hospital. Therefore, in this way, we will not be speaking anything fallacious. Actually, we will be speaking the utmost truth." After speaking these words, Srila Maharaj began chanting Harinam and consequently said nothing more until he manifested his disappearance pastime. At that time, his servants understood why Srila Maharaj was repeatedly asking to be updated about the appearance of Ekadashi Tithi. After approximately 2 hours of deliberation with the hospital doctor, Srila Maharaja's servants, his doctor disciples, as well as the doctor disciples of Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, and a few other important devotees, unanimously agreed that the most sensible decision was to take Srila Maharaj to the mat itself. Thus, on September 3rd, on the Tithi of Shravan Mahadwadashi, Srila Maharaj was brought to the mat around 10 p.m. Srila Maharaj's room in the mat was transformed into a makeshift ICU, and Srila Maharaj's doctor disciples were present with him at all times, along with his servants. Srila Maharaj's health update was broadcast via internet, phone, and other mediums. Thus, devotees began arriving from Sridham Vrindavan, Delhi, Chandigarh, Manasa, Bengaluru, Pune, and abroad. It felt as if Srila Maharaj was present in Sridham Mayapur for Sridham Navadvip Parikrama, and many devotees were endlessly presenting themselves to take his darshan. It appeared as though everyone was on holiday, with no anxiety about their profession, job, and household activities. The subject of everyone's meditation was Srila Maharaj's health and darshan. As the embodiment of Srila Maharaj's lifelong training, with an open heart, Srila Maharaj awarded darshan and physical contact to all the arriving devotees as per their respective desires, without any obstacles. Whatever the different devotees expressed as their desire, be it to sit in Srila Maharaj's quarters and recite a few stav stuti, beg for forgiveness, touch his lotus feet, or simply remain in his presence for some time, Srila Maharaj awarded enough opportunity to make everyone feel grateful. When a few devotees called out, "Maharaj, Maharaj," close to his ears, though Srila Maharaj reacted by opening his eyes and expressing something in a shocked manner or choked manner, due to their inability and misfortune, it was not possible for them to comprehend it. On the night of Mahadwadashi, many devotees sat outside Srila Maharaj's room and performed kirtan the entire night. Everyone lost their presence of mind. No one understood what to converse with the other, where to go, whom to pray to, etc. Inevitably, in such a circumstance, everyone took shelter of the exclusive instruction of Shriman Mahaprabhu, Kirtaniya Sada Hari. How come it's not going back? Sorry. And now, entrance into the Madhyan Lila of Shri Radha and Krishna. My internet started going really. Okay. On September 3rd, Shravana Mahadvadashi, Srila Mahārāja accepted Mona, silence, while fasting, and continued his Mona through Monday, September 4th, the Avirbhav Titi of Satchidananda Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. On Tuesday, September 5th, choosing the Tirobhav Titi of Namacharya Śrīla Haridas Ṭhākura, Srila Mahārāja manifested his disappearance pastime from this world by entering into the very special pastime that takes place in the afternoon, namely Shri Radha Kun Madhyana. Half an hour before Srila Mahārāja entered Nitya Lila, his servants painted an extremely beautiful tilak markings on his forehead. His different limbs were smeared with the dust from various pastime places of Sri Vrindavan Dham, which was brought by one devotee. Then one portion of Jagannath Mahaprasad brought by another devotee was placed in Srila Mahārāja's lotus mouth, and his favorite picture of his Guru Maharaj, which was present in his room, was placed on his heart. At that time, both the doors and windows of Srila Mahārāja's room were flung open for the devotees to take his darshan. The approximately 150 devotees present at the mat at that time immediately understood the situation, and everyone gathered together in a mood of extreme separation, weeping, began loud kirtan of the Mahamantra with tear-filled eyes. Approximately 15 minutes, Srila Mahārāja heard the kirtan of the Mahamantra sung by all the assembled devotees in an enraptured state, and at 12:26 p.m., he entered the eternal pastimes. It is not possible to describe the state of the assembled devotees. In a moment, the news about Srila Mahārāja's departure spread all over the world, and all felt acute separation from him. Departure on the Titi of Namacharya Śrīla Haridas Ṭhākura. Srila Mahārāja entered the eternal pastimes by choosing the disappearance Titi of that very Śrīla Haridas Ṭhākura, whose body Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu lifted in his arms and danced with, and who is ornamented by different titles such as Siddhadeha, the preacher of the holy name. While glorifying Srila Haridas Ṭhākura, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared as if he possessed 5 mouths. On Srila Haridas Ṭhākura's Viraha festival, Mahaprabhu promised to give benedictions to all the devotees. Those who obtained the darshan of the Vijayotsav of Haridas, those who participated by performing kirtan and dancing or in giving him samadhi, those who honored Mahaprasad during the Viraha Mahotsav, will all soon gain the favor of Sri Krishna. In separation from his dear devotee, lamenting, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Being merciful upon me, Sri Krishna gave me the association of Srila Haridas Ṭhākura, and now by his own independent desire, he has broken that association. When Srila Haridas Ṭhākura desired to leave this world, it was not in my power to detain him. Simply by his will, Srila Haridas Ṭhākura gave up his life, his pran, exactly like Bhishma Pitamaha. Srila Haridas Ṭhākura was the crown jewel on the head of this world. Without him, this world is bereft of this valuable jewel." Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then told everyone to say, "Jai Jai Shri Haridas, all glories to Srila Haridas Ṭhākura," and to chant the holy name of Hari. The fact that Srila Mahārāja chose this Titi to enter the eternal pastimes is itself supernatural and insinuates a message filled with deep mystery. Just as Srila Mahārāja would himself express, "It is not a coincidence that my Guru Pad Padma Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Shishimad Bhakti Dait Madhav Gosvāmī Maharaj manifested the pastime of choosing to appear in this world on Uttana Akadashi. By selecting the appearance Titi of Srila Gaur Kishoras Babaji Maharaj, and consequently choosing to disappear from this world by selecting the Tirobhav Titi of Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, demonstrates his eternal relationship with these personalities. However, Bhujibe rasika jan na bhujibe mura. Only those devotees who are fully accomplished with realization of ras can fathom this. What will those who are bereft of the realization of ras be able to understand? And finally, we'll end with the Samadhi ceremony. Is this long? Oh, it's a bit long. Oh no, this is too long because we have a program here in Gopinath Bhavan. Anyhow, if anybody wants to read this, you can just go to VC, just type in vcvani.com, and then under resources, just put the mouse here under resources, and you'll see this remembrance and separation. And you can read this on your own. All of these, they're just amazing, so beautiful. Every one of these articles. So you can read more. It's about the Samadhi ceremony and separation from Gurudev, all the mantras he receives from these various acharyas. So much nectar here. His relationship with my Gurudev. Oh, a few self-written ideals. This is amazing. I read this out on his appearance day. I made a video of it. If you wanted to just, you could also search for that. A few self-written ideals on my YouTube channel. You can find this and hear that if you want. But yeah, I have to end the video now so that I can take breakfast and go for the program. So thank you so much for joining me. And yeah, Jai Shri Radhe. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Oh, well, I'm just seeing this comment by Bhavatarani Mataji. Śrīla Swāmī Prabhupada left his 18-year-old disciple in India, and he was Achyutananda, and Śrīla Prabhupada left Achyutananda under the care of Śrīla Bhaktivedanta Bhāratī Gosvāmī Maharaj. That's so cool. Hare Krishna Shasharmaji, and Prajuna Prabhu Mantaramurti Mataji, and Manjari Didi, Dandavat Pranams. Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Ajaya Bhakti Vijñāna Śrīla Bhāratī Gosvāmī, Bhakti Vijñāna Śrīla Bhāratī Gosvāmī. Jaya Jaya Bhakti Daita Śrīla Madhav Gosvāmī, Bhakti Daita Śrīla Madhav Gosvāmī. Jaya Swaparshara Śrīla Prabhupada, Swaparshara Śrīla Prabhupada. Jaya Swaparshara, Jaya Gaura Hari, Swaparshara Jaya Gora Hari, Jaya Hari Das Thakur, Jaya Hari Das Thakur, Hari Das Thakur, Hari Das Thakur, Jaya Hari Das Thakur. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol. Jai Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki jai. Shri Govana Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju ki jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Śrīla Gurudev ki jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Śrīla Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Śrīla Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Śrīla Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Śrīla Gaurkishora Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Śrīla Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Ṭhākura ki jai. Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashata Rashata Shishimar Bhakti Vijñāna Bhāratī Goswami Mahārāja ki jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Śrīla Bhakti Dait Madhava Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Śrīla Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Śrīla Bhakti Rakshak Śrīdhara Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupanu Shri Swaparshad Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Swaparshad Gaur Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. Namacharya Śrīla Haridas Ṭhākura ki jai. Tadiya Shubha Tirobhav Titi ki jai. Śrīla Bhakti Vijñāna Bhāratī Goswami Maharaj Tirobhav Titi ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radhakrishna Gopa Gopigan ki jai. Shri Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Om Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavatai Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams, everybody. So I will see you all tomorrow for tomorrow is Vishwarup Mahotsav. So we will continue our Srimad Bhagavatam reading and also read about Vishwarup Mahotsav. And yeah, see you all then. The next tithi coming up is Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj's appearance day. But that's in a while from now. That's in 20 days from now. After Vishwarup Mahotsav, that's the next thing coming up. All right, Dandavat Pranams, everybody. See you all tomorrow.